Hello, my fellow Smiters! Welcome to episode 4 of the Let's Learn God's Gear and Meta series on my YouTube. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about stacking items, the damage stacking items, the things that people often don't think is too important to not kill half a minion wave or an entire minion wave. Because why not just add 30 seconds onto that character's span of time of getting stacks and everything? Why not? Not a bad idea, right? Because it passes time for you, so why not kill the minion? Even though you're not stacking, just go in there and bye-bye minion wave! I did something and time passed by and I pushed the minions up. Now, all that aside, there are some scenarios where it's like, yes, kill that minion wave because maybe the enemy team has pushed the minion wave up far. If the minions are in your tower area and the enemy team is pushing into tower, house those minions as fast as you can, so the tower is going to help you do damage. And yes, in that scenario, I definitely fully feel, stackers are not that important because you want that tower to stay up as long as you can have it stay up. You want it to be hard for them to get that tower. So killing those minions in that scenario, yeah, it's bad. But you do run into some scenarios like this one, where you're pushed up to the enemy's tower and no enemies are within sight. Maybe you just, like in this scenario, killed an enemy at that very moment. And then you have an Ares there, just flaming the entire enemy minion wave. Why, I ask you? I don't know. If it's early game, you're within the first, usually when you're stacking, you're within the first 8 minutes of the game. You're not going to do that much damage to the tower. You're not downing the tower within the first 5 minutes. So why are you just killing that wave? It's gotta stop. We gotta really think about stacking, characters as something to empower as fast as humanly possible. Mini waves only come out every 30 seconds. So you kill that wave, you kill the majority of that wave, it's adding another 30 seconds onto that stacker's span of time. Every time you kill the equivalent amount of minions and take it away from that stacker, you're adding on 30 seconds. Look at it that way. So you think of it as, oh, I only accidentally took 1 here. I only accidentally took 2 here. Oops, I stole that god kill there. Whatever it is. Like, oh, I secured it. Get your stacker fed, and they're gonna take that damage to the enemy at a time where the enemy really does not want to take that damage. Tanks usually will not have, like, if you're a mage, very rarely does a tank say, I'm gonna rush Bulwark first item, or I'm gonna get this great magical tanking item. It's the greatest time of strength for your stacking characters to just empower them with stacks from that first part of the game till about 10 minutes in, when tanks will start to, have their defensive items and start to kind of laugh off your damage a little bit and be able to just walk around and be like, haha, I'm taking damage, like a Bacchus walking around, burping, jumping, doing all these things, just kind of just taking basic attack after basic attack or mage hit after mage hit. It's definitely important to get them stacked before the point in time where a tank's gonna just be like that stone in front of you, just laughing at what you're throwing at it, just like, that's not really affecting my life at all. So really, take that into account. I think for this episode, that's why I kind of am not really doing one individual god or one individual gear build like the basic attack hunter build from episode 3. This is something that's been happening the past few weeks in all of the reg matches, all the ranked matches and everything. Is just these scenarios right here. There's no rush, there's no need to kill the minions at that point in time. I can understand maybe being bored or just antsy, because I do think that that's sometimes what it is. You're antsy, your adrenaline's going, you want to win the match, you're like, what can I do, all the camps are gone, the damage camp's gone, mana camp's gone, oh, I looked at the enemy camp's mana camp and that's gone too, what am I gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna just house this wave here, let's get into the tower, let's go. I can understand it. You're getting antsy, you're getting energetic, you're like, let's push, let's go. get that damage dealer, those 7 stacks, those 6 stacks, as fast as you can, because in some cases, that's almost 1/5 of their stacking for the item they're stacking. That is a big chunk every minion wave, and like we said, it's 30 seconds. You take away that wave, it's 30 seconds onto the time frame. Let's quickly just go over the damage, stacking items, and, take a look at them quick. Do more. I think I've used it in one of my previous builds, or I used it on the stream live, but you're getting 40 magic power, 200 mana, 7 MP5, but the most important part of it is you get 2 magical power per stack, and it's 50 total stacks, times 50 and 2. You get 100. That is a lot of magic power, especially if you rush Doom Orb. It's only 2,050 in gold, so it's relatively low in cost. I mean, looking at the other prices there, you got 3,300 for the Rod Tahuti, 2,400 for the Chronos Pendant, but 2,050 for Doom Orb, which is going to give you 140 magic power. Now, the downside of it is if you keep on dying, you're going to half your stacks every single time. But if you don't keep on dying, this is going to get you a level of strength and damage output at a point in time, like we were saying, tanks don't usually have tanky gear at this time. Maybe they've rushed Breastplate of Valor because they want cooldown reduction so they can use their abilities more often. Like if you're Geb, you need your shield up as often as humanly possible. Maybe he's rushing his cooldown reduction, so maybe he doesn't have defenses against that magical damage dealer. Doom Orb, first item, crazy strong. 50 stacks, not the most stacks out of all of the pieces that are out there, so let your stacker stack it as fast as possible. You have to look at it as they're going to get a level of magical damage output that surpasses anything else that's, capable to be bought at that time, which like a lot of people using Doom Orb. Let them stack it. Let them stack it. Let's go into the next item, Warlock Sash. Generally, this item is your, keep yourself alive piece of gear. It's going to give you 300 health, 400 mana. You get 50 magical power, which isn't like a whole ton, but you get 3 health per stack, and you get 100 stacks. So that's 300 health. That's a lot. On top of your 300 you already have. That's 600 total health that you get from one piece of gear. And if you get an early game, if you get first piece like I often do, like I'm sure I've showed in a build, maybe I think I did on the Scylla build, is 2650, but that health early game, getting 600 extra health, is going to let you take a few more hits from a hunter early game. It's going to let you take the poke from a mage or an assassin or whatever you're running into if the scenario is you find you're dying a little bit. This is going to help out a whole bunch. You get 0.6 magical power per stack. That's not really the full-on upside of this piece. It's good. It's not bad. You're going to be feeling pretty strong the more stacks you get, but you're going to want to let your stacker get their stacks in this case because, like I said, 300 extra health on top of the 300 they've already gotten from this piece of gear. You're going to want them to get that safety if you're a tank, like in that Ares image. You're going to want your mage to get that safety. That extra 300 health is going to let them take a little bit more of a hit, a little bit more of a poke from the enemy team. And the journey of getting all that health, every time they get that stack, that's 3 health that's going onto their bar. So if they're at half health and they're stacking every minion wave, they're getting a little more health onto that bar. They're staying out in the lane a little bit longer. They don't really need a pot. They're getting health that way. And if they're getting god kills on top of that, and they're getting just a quick 5 stacks for that, you gotta really think about it that way. That's 15 health. It's not a whole ton, but then you add it with a minion wave, and now you're getting your health up. So let them stack. Hashtag let them stack. Let's go into Book of Thoth. This one I find like Kukulkan, like certain characters really work well with Book of Thoth, and certain mages do like to double stack. And it kind of, by the end game, if they're going double stack, it's more of an investment in the late game. Like, this would be the scenario where you kind of trading off kills, you're trading off pushing, maybe you get 1 or 2 kills on them, they get 1 or 2 kills on you, and you're going back and forth, so this is going to be a long game. It's going to be like a 27-minute game, or around that time frame, because really the games in Joust aren't that long, so this is in that scenario where you feel like, alright, I'm going to have plenty of time to get all these stacks as matches are going to go on for a while, and I want my damage to really get solidified by endgame. So if you've already got Warlock Sash, you've got 400 mana from that piece of gear in and of itself. Now you're going to get another 125 mana, 15 MP5, 100 magic power just straight off the bat, which is awesome. But then on top of that, you get 10 mana per stack, 75 stacks, 750 mana on top of your 125, your 400, and then 3% of your total mana, which is why I keep on talking about the amounts of mana here, is 3% of that mana is getting converted to magical power. So Warlock Sash and this together kind of work hand in hand. But if you feel like the game is going fast, maybe they're pushing you pretty hard, your team pretty hard, I wouldn't get this one because you're not going to get the chance to stack it. Those 75 stacks, you got to keep in mind, every minion wave comes out every 30 seconds. So you're not going to really get the chance to get the 75 stacks on this on top of the stacks that you're already still working on for the Warlock Sash. So keep the Warlock Sash or the Doom Orb, whatever you're using, and I wouldn't say, I don't really think there's worth in this, but hashtag let them stack. Let the damage dealers stack. It'll help them out so much. Why don't we just do it? I don't know. But now let's go into physical damage dealers. Now, physical damage dealers and their stacking items are a little bit more tricky. You gotta remember, a lot of the hunters rely on their basic attacks. They're hitting one target at a time, unless they get, like, oboe or something that's gonna spread the damage. It's kind of hard on them for those stacks, especially early game, where they're not doing a whole ton of damage. Don't make them sit there and have to focus on timing their basic attacks to be at the time where you're sitting there hitting them, like we saw in that Ares image, and they're trying to time it so that their one basic attack will be on point, at the time of killing that minion. Don't do it to them. Don't make them have to stress out about that and focus on stacking in that case. Let them be able to just get strong and do their thing. Now, Dev Gloves, 25 physical power, 10% physical lifesteal. Permanently gain 0.4 physical power for every stack and 0.2 physical lifesteal per stack, max of 75 stacks. It's not the worst piece of gear, at least you get a good amount of physical lifesteal by the end of the stacking process, but 75 stacks on a hunter is rough. On a mage, 75 stacks can be rocked and rolled, but 75 stacks on a hunter when you're usually a single target basic attack damage dealer is going to be rough on them to get those stacks. So let them stack. Hashtag let them stack. Keep in mind there are hunters that can house waves a lot easier, like Nath and Ho Yi. There's characters, even Chiron with this one. But just don't make them waste their abilities on minion waves. Like, if you make a Nath use her root to kill a minion wave, then you're like, oh, why aren't you joining the fight with us, Nath? How come your abilities are never up? It's like, well, because you keep on killing half of every freaking minion wave, I'm forced to use all the cooldowns on my abilities, and then you go in and fight and you initiate because now you're like, well, job's done on the minions, I'm going to go and initiate, and then you're leaving that damage dealer weakened even more so on top of the 30 seconds you just added on to their time frame of getting their max stacks, and then you're complaining to them about not getting into the fights and joining in, and it's like, what? Really, what are you talking about? Just let them stack. It's important. Look at this piece of gear. Look at what they would get from it. And look at the fact that it's 75 stacks. It's not easy to get. Let them stack. That's what this video is about. Let them stack. And then the last stacking item, Transcendence. If you're a hunter and you use abilities a lot, I would say first item, Transcendence. If you're a Nath, if you're a Ho Yi, even if you're a Chiron in some of the cases, generally any hunter that has more of an ability-based kit giving them capabilities, I would say Transcendence is going to be a great help to your character and your abilities and everything. You get 35 physical power on this piece, 300 mana off the bat. So if you first item this, 2600, it's not a whole ton. You should be getting it around like 2 minutes to 3 minute mark in the match, so you're gonna get it relatively early, and then you're gonna start your damage ramp up, which isn't a whole ton. It's very similar to Book of Thoth, but it's gonna help. You permanently gain 15 mana per stack, and 3% of your mana is converted to physical power. 3%, not a whole ton, but when you're talking by mid-game and you're sitting there with, well, like 1700 mana, it's not bad. It's something extra add-on, and with physical characters, really, when you're talking about physical power on items, you don't really have the same numbers that mages have. Like, a mage will have a piece of gear like Rod Tahuti, 125 magic power, and then it's going to just ramp up all magic power by like 25%. You know, it's really strong. It's big numbers, whereas hunters, they have crit, they have all these other things that help their basic attacks. You have kin size, you have all these other things. You kind of, as an ability-based hunter, like a Nath or something, you want to be casting all of your abilities, you want to be able to stay out and use your abilities, and getting this extra mana and then converting the mana you do have to your power does add a good amount of power. And since it's only 50 stacks, in difference to that Dev Gloves of 75 stacks, 50 stacks isn't too crazy of a thing to get. If you're getting 7 stacks per wave, then, or 6 stacks per wave, you know, or 5 stacks per wave, or 4 stacks, you know, because people are killing minions, or, you know, you're getting god kills and stuff. It's a doable number. For a hunter or an assassin, it's a more easily achievable goal. But it won't be achievable if we don't let them stack. You gotta do it. Give it a try and see the difference of damage output that will be done by your damage dealers. But that's the last piece of gear of this, you know, Let's Learn. And hopefully you take from this just how important it is to let the stackers stack, and how much it will help your team by letting them stack and getting them those stacks as fast as humanly possible. But till the next video, we'll see what we're going to work on for that one. Come by the Twitch sometime when I'm live during the week and give me a gear set, or, you know, tell me to check out this character because you found out like this piece works with them. Whatever you want. Let's just chat Smite. Let's just chat nerd stuff. It doesn't matter. Come by, hang out, let's have a good time. And if not, go on the Twitter, go on the Facebook. Got the links right here. That was actually kind of hard to do. But yeah, check them out and, you know, come by. Let's talk some Smite. Until then, good luck, have fun in your matches. Bye-bye!